Greetings, everyone. We're going to go ahead and get started, and we'll start with a couple awesome students from the Mayor's Youth Council.
Right. Hello, my name is Chi Clark. I'm a member of the Grand Rapids Mayor's Youth Council and a junior at City High Middle School. Welcome to Kidspeak 2018, Tearing Down the Walls.
Hello, my name is Andrew, and I'm a senior at City High School, and I'm also a member of the Mayor's Youth Council. We will be your MCs. We thank you all for joining us today and appreciate your support of events like this that allow youth the opportunity to be heard.
Today's proceedings are being streamed live on the City of Grand Rapids Facebook and YouTube pages, and we have GRCC taping today's event, which will be aired on the Grand Rapids Public Schools Cable Channel 27.
In the next 2 hours, you will hear directly from young people about a subject that was selected by the Mayor's Youth Council. Get ready because you will hear very honest, heartfelt, and candid testimonies. But first, please welcome Natalie Gilbert, this year's Kidspeak Subcommittee Chair, to talk about how we arrived at this year's topic.
Hi. A few weeks ago, in a room very much like this one, representatives of the Mayor's Youth Council joined together, tasked with the goal of creating a topic for the 2018 Kidspeak event. The criteria was simple. Firstly, we wanted a topic that anyone, no matter what age, has experienced and could speak on. Secondly, we looked for a topic that had specific relevance to the community of Grand Rapids. And thirdly, we wanted a topic that we believe has been far too long abandoned by governments wishing to sweep it under the rug. Through a strenuous process of debating back and forth and reassessing, we came to the conclusion that immigration was the topic that we needed to discuss at Kidspeak. Immigration affects every individual even within the confines of our own city. The word immigrant has become far too synonymous with illegal. Immigrants are teachers, engineers, mothers, sons, and most importantly, people. No one should feel or be treated less than based on circumstances that they could not control. It has been estimated that 12.5 million illegal immigrants are currently living in the United States. Based on these same statistics, 49% of billion-dollar businesses in the United States were created by people who were not born in the United States, which has created more than 33,000 permanent jobs for U.S. citizens. The truth is, immigrants contribute to our city, our country, and most importantly, our life. Through this topic, our goal is simple: create a dialogue on how we can best support the immigrant population within our community of Grand Rapids and share the ways in which immigrants have impacted our life. Thank you.
Thank you, Natalie. Kidspeak is an annual forum created by Michigan's children and facilitated throughout Michigan. In Grand Rapids, this forum is facilitated by the Mayor's Youth Council. We are a group of high school teens who live in the city of Grand Rapids, and we attend a Grand Rapids public school. As council members, we meet with Mayor Bliss monthly to discuss issues facing youth today. We also learn about community and the role city government plays in our lives.
And speaking of the Mayor's Youth Council, I want to give a special shout out to my fellow council members who are working to ensure this event is a success. For those who are in the room, please stand to be recognized. Thank you guys for your hard work. By now, everyone should have received this year's Kidspeak Commemorative T-Shirt. The T-shirt was designed by City High Middle student Anya Dengerink Van Til. Please give her a round of applause as she takes the mic and tells us about the inspiration behind her design.
Good morning. I'm Anya. So thank you for being here, and thank you to Chi for volunteering me for this project, and thank you for whoever translated my design onto the t-shirt. It looks great. That being said, I'd like to think that my inspiration for the logo is pretty obvious. The current administration chooses to focus on racial stereotypes and falsified statistics, ignoring the fact that their wall is an infeasible, inhumane, and oversimplified way to deal with the complex problem of illegal immigration. The slogan, "Tearing Down the Walls," is pretty literally translated in the logo. It is important for us to join together to create a dialogue that crosses all political, imagined, and physical barriers. So, thank you.
Thanks, Anya, for making this year's design. We greatly appreciate it. Now please welcome Mayor Rosalind Bliss. Mayor Bliss is serving her third year and her first term of office. Mayor Bliss has been a champion of connecting children to nature, small businesses, and advancing racial equity. Please welcome Mayor Bliss as she says some opening remarks and introduces the listening panel.
Thank you. I am just going to say a few words of welcome. I'm so glad to see the chambers filled for this really important day. This is actually one of my favorite days throughout the whole year, this time that we take to pause and to listen to youth leaders. So every youth in this room today is a leader, and I feel so unbelievably fortunate to have the opportunity to spend time with the leaders in this space through the Mayor's Youth Council. I also want to say thank you to Shannon, who's running around there in the back, Shannon Harris, who works with me to coordinate and lead the Mayor's Youth Council. And then I also want to just personally say thank you again to our Mayor's Youth Council members. They work for months and months and months organizing this event. They do all of the work to make today happen. They deserve a lot of credit because very often events like this, we don't see all the work that goes into them. So I just want to personally say thank you. I've watched them over the last several months organize and coordinate this event, and I just want them to know how grateful I am for their work. So with that, I'm going to turn it to our listening panel and give them an opportunity to introduce themselves to all of you. And I think I will start, let's start down here with Lynn Heemstra, who is also instrumental in making sure that this event happens.
Thank you, Mayor. Lynn Heemstra, our community's children.
Kurt Repart, First Ward City Commissioner.
Sonia Hernandez. I'm with the Hispanic Latino Commission of Michigan, as well as the YMCA of Greater Grand Rapids.
Jim Talon, I'm a county commissioner in my 18th year, and I represent parts of all 3 wards of the city of Grand Rapids.
Sunita Lanier, Third Ward City Commissioner, and then we can go to the back and then come back up.
Good morning, everybody. David Marquardt, Director of Grand Rapids Parks and Recreation. Eric DeLong, Interim City Manager.
Christian Grant, Grand Rapids Public School Board.
And I'm Lupe Ramos Motudi. I serve on the State Board of Education, an elected member, and I'm also the chairperson of the Committee to Honor Cesar E. Chavez.
Wendy Fall, President of the Board of Education.
Go ahead.
Matt Gillard, the President of Michigan's Children.
Carol Hennessy, I'm a Kent County Commissioner, District 14, which represents several areas in the city of Grand Rapids.
Maureen Slade, Grand Rapids Public School Board of Ed.
I'm Ruth Kelly, and I represent the 2nd Ward in the city of Grand Rapids on the City Commission, and we'll turn to the folks in the back here.
I'm going to stand because I'm too short. I'm Patty Cottle. I'm the Diversity and Inclusion Manager for the City of Grand Rapids.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Kelsey Perdue. I am a volunteer with Equity PAC. I am a 3rd Ward resident, and I'm a former Mayor's Youth Council member.
Tony Baker, and I'm on the Grand Rapids School Board.
John Matias, I'm on the Grand Rapids Public School Board.
Catherine Downs Lewis, member of the Grand Rapids Public School Board.
Allison Coomer, Refugee Education Center.
Dan Nicaracheo, Grand Rapids streamer, DACA recipient, and I'm a member of the West Michigan Coalition for Immigration Reform and previous Mayor's Youth Council member.
Malika Brown, Director of Equity and Inclusion for the Grand Rapids Public Schools.
Chuck DeWitt, Chief Deputy at the Kent County Sheriff's Office.
Eric Payne, Deputy Chief of Police, Grand Rapids.
Jen Shockey, Grand Rapids Public Schools Board of Education.
Lionel Legrand, Link Up, and 2nd Ward resident.
Good morning, Raynard Ross, Grand Rapids Public School Board.
Good morning, my name is Stacy Stout, Assistant to the City Manager with the City of Grand Rapids, also the Latina Network of West Michigan, and 1st Ward resident.
Great. Thank you. Thank you all for being here today.
Thank you, Mayor Bliss, for your leadership and the time you've shared with us this year. We also want to thank the listening panelists and the students in the audience for your roles in today's forum. One of our partners for Kidspeak is Michigan's Children. Michigan's Children is a statewide organization that advocates for the needs of children. Michigan's Children created Kidspeak and facilitates these forums around the state. Please welcome Matt Gillard, President and CEO of Michigan's Children, as he gives some remarks.
Thank you, Andrew. Thank you, Mayor Bliss and the City of Grand Rapids. And thank you to my colleagues on the listening panel. Thank you to the Mayor's Youth Council. And most importantly, thank you to the young people who will be providing testimony today. I am Matt Gillard, the President and CEO of Michigan's Children. Michigan's Children is a nonprofit child policy and advocacy organization focused on the support of public policy in the best interest of children from cradle to career. In support of that effort, of that goal, we feel it's very important for decision makers across the spectrum, across the government spectrum and across the political spectrum, to hear directly from young people about the issues that they're facing and potential solutions and ideas that they have to make their lives better and the lives of children coming behind them better. That's why we created these Kidspeak environments. This is one of my favorite ones of the year that we do every year here in Grand Rapids, and I can tell you, as a president of an organization that's committed to youth voice and youth engagement in political and in governmental discussions, we are extremely thrilled by the level of youth participation and youth engagement that we're seeing here in Grand Rapids and across the state and across the country on issues that are important to kids. And we're going to continue to do all that we can to facilitate that, starting right here this morning with a great discussion we're going to have on a very important topic. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gillard. Now I would like to introduce to you Lynn Heemstra, Executive Director of Our Community's Children. Our Community's Children is a partnership between the City of Grand Rapids, the Grand Rapids Public Schools, and community partners. It is an organization that advocates for innovative initiatives and programs that better prepare young people for college, work, and life. Please welcome Lynn Heemstra.
Thank you, Chi-Chi. Thank you so much. This is our 18th year of Kidspeak, and I'm so proud of the Mayor's Youth Council and what you've done to make this day a reality and for the topic that you've chosen. And it's been a wonderful partnership with Michigan's Children. We're sisters together in trying to ensure that young people have voice in what matters to them and that they are very much engaged in what's going on in the city. And that means that they have voice in the design, the redesign of parks, playgrounds, certainly what's happening in the river and in our neighborhoods. We want to make sure that young people have a say in what's going on. As well, we want to have young people actively engaged in the political issues of the day, and this is a fine example of what can be possible. Your voice does make a difference. It influences what goes on, and we'd love to see you being active on a day-to-day basis. So thank you again for all of you as panelists for taking the time to prioritize your time this morning, and for the Mayor's Youth Council, I appreciate all that you do. For the speakers here, the skills that you show today is going to take you into the future, and we thank you so much for being here, for taking the time, and for the adults in the audience who have supported our young people. We need each and every one of us coming together for our youth. Thank you.
Thanks, Ms. Lynn. People from all over the world come to this country for many different reasons. They speak other languages, bring their customs, and practice their traditions. Whether real or invisible, walls are often created out of fear and need to protect or preserve. How do we seek to embrace these differences? How do we seek to understand and embrace these differences? We'll hear the answer to this question starting with me. I'll be giving my testimony now. Having grown up part of a diverse family, I've been immersed in various cultures and experiences, all of which have exposed me to different environments, perspectives, and traditions. I've gained a deep appreciation and understanding of a variety of backgrounds while also learning to share and embrace my own. The immigrants within my community, my friends, fellow students, teammates, and family have all given me wonderful memories and enriched my life with their unique cultures. They are a primary part of what makes me associate Grand Rapids as home. As a 16-year-old high schooler, I may not know exactly what I want to be, but they've helped inspire who I want to be. The persistence they've maintained throughout their life, their determination to help others, their positivity, wisdom, and impassioned kindness have all motivated me. And I believe that they shouldn't just be an example to me, but to everyone. because with them, our city can become better. It can thrive not in spite of, but because of such diversity. For all the positive impacts immigrant friends and family have had on me, I would love for our city to give back and make it easier for other people to have these influential experiences, just as I've had them. For our city to recognize that people who come from different backgrounds still have valid needs and are just as valuable as any other resident. Grand Rapids needs to be pushed into interacting and embracing different cultures and concepts more often so that this city can go beyond promoting tolerance, but acceptance. So we allow these differences to create a stronger and more beautiful community with equal opportunities that benefit everyone. I want to see Grand Rapids become not just another city, but a home for all cultures and people. Thank you.
Awesome job, Chi-Chi. The topic of immigration is one that affects a huge portion of people in the United States. Not only does it obviously affect the immigrants themselves, but most everyone in America is personally attached to immigration. Unfortunately, the issue of immigration has become polarized by our political system beyond belief. True, open discussions about immigration are hard to come by, and they too often lose touch with the true magnitude of immigration in America. This is especially troubling for the approximately 12.5 million undocumented immigrants currently living in the United States, approximately 800,000 of whom are DACA recipients. It seems that these millions of people living in the United States are being dehumanized through the rhetoric and hyper-politicization of the immigration discussion. This changes with Kidspeak 2018. I urge our leaders to set politics aside to come to a real solution for these millions of immigrants looking for citizenship and to set reasonable goals to tackle this issue. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony, Andrew. You speakers that are here today were asked to answer one of the following questions that we, the Mayor's Youth Council, helped develop. 1. Should immigration reform include the extension of a border wall? Should preferences be given to those who can demonstrate merit in the highly skilled? Why or why not? What is it like growing up in Grand Rapids as a person from a different country? What do you want people to know? What stereotypes should be dispelled? What resources should be provided to ensure that refugees and immigrants feel supported in Grand Rapids? 3. Are immigration laws too strict, too lenient, or just right? Please explain your answer. 4. Describe an ideal pathway to citizenship. 5. Does one's citizenship status affect their ability to access affordable housing, healthcare, education, employment, etc.? Does one's status limit their choice for the future? Please explain. 6. What can elected officials do to decrease discrimination against refugees and immigrants where you live and or go to school? 7. What contributions have immigrants made to your community? Have you been discriminated against, felt unwelcome, targeted, isolated, etc. in Grand Rapids because you or your parents are from another country? What is/was your experience like? How did it make you feel? 9. The future of nearly 800,000 dreamers aged 15 to 36 years old is uncertain. What action should the federal government take regarding this population? 10. What effect does deportation have on you or someone you know? 11. Does an increase in the immigrant population threaten the distribution of resources? Does it impact how the United States keeps its citizens safe? Why or why not? And 12. Native Americans are the indigenous people of this country. Africans were brought to America during the slave trade. Does that make everyone else an immigrant? Please explain your answer.
This year we had the most speakers submit testimony in Kidspeak history. We're going to try to honor everyone's time, but we want all the speakers that are here today to get the chance to let their voice be heard. Now, what you've all been waiting for, please welcome our first speaker, Binti Abdi, 12th grader from Union High School.
Thank you. To be called a refugee is the opposite of an insult. It is a badge of strength, courage, and victory. I was born in Kenya, in a small village 12 miles from Nairobi. My mother, a Somali Tanzanian woman, and my father, a Nigerian Tanzanian man, came to Kenya to escape the violence that went on in Somalia. For the first time of my life, I lived in fear. I'm not talking about fear of small spaces, heights, spiders, but fear of my government. As a child, I was always told I had to only speak when spoken to, clean and cook and listen to others. I didn't have an opinion or a voice. Despite this, I spent most of my days running with my oldest brother, playing traditional games, sharing stories, and living the life of a Zagua. When I was younger, my brother, cousins, and I would go to the Capitol, sneak into the compound, and listen to news and debates. It was at this time I fell in love with politics. Being a victim of war, I lost not only family members, but my people. I also lost myself and the true meaning of life. I dreamt of a society where people can become anything they want to, where police and military were protecting the people instead of killing, and a society where the government would use their power for good rather than bad. But after the genocide, I thought there was no such thing. It wasn't until we were placed in the refugee camp I began to find myself again. When I first arrived to America, what stuck out to me most wasn't the cars, the buildings, or even the houses, but the people. The eyes of the people were different. They didn't have hate, fear, or sadness. They had something else. Growing up in Grand Rapids as a person from a different country, life was challenging, but my dreams soon came true. Learning a new language is hard enough, but trying to learn it at the age of 8 seemed impossible. I met with countless of tutors and studied tirelessly. At the time, I could only speak 3 languages. When I found out I was going to attend school, I couldn't believe my ears. I was excited to learn how to read, write, and even draw. Grand Rapids opened me up to a lot of different opportunities, and I was determined to take advantage of every single one of them. Grand Rapids has become more than a city. It has become a home, not just to me, but a home to others as well. As an immigrant and a refugee, I've grown to love this country. I'd hate to see it turn out to a city where immigrants live in fear, where every time you step outside, you're afraid. But the stereotypes in the media have tainted the image of refugees and immigrants. People now seem to support anti-immigration laws rather than promote immigration reform. It's not easy leaving everything behind. By isolating refugees and immigrants, you're making it harder for them. Resources that should be provided to ensure that refugees and immigrants feel supported in Grand Rapids would be like a PTA or other group meeting with community members, partners, caregivers to discuss the current policies, climate, and impact on students, families, and communities. If necessary, provide translation service for those whose primary language is not English. Another resource can be support from teachers, counselors, administration to engage students and family in discussing and addressing all forms of bullying, hate-related incident, and possible immigration enforcement activities. I share this with you today because I want you to understand that refugees and immigrants come here to become something more than just a victim of war, oppression, and corruption. As a Kenyan refugee, I became a member of the Mayor's Youth Council, student representative for the Board of Education, a Grand Rapids Police Explorer, president of the National Honor Society, a battalion commander at Union's Junior Reserve Officer Training Corps, and so much more. I can honestly say that that refugees and immigrants matter. Your sadness, your stories, your hopes and dreams, everything matters. So share your stories because it can make a difference. Like an old friend of mine once said, until the lion learns to write, every story will glorify the hunter. Let's not criticize, judge, and bash them, but instead take a second and put yourself in their shoes. You have to understand, no one risks their lives and place themselves and children on a boat unless the water is safer than the land. So I ask you to just stop and listen. Don't listen to reply, but instead listen to understand. Because sometimes listening is the first step to helping someone. Let's stop the stereotypes, the hatred, the isolation, and let us tear down the walls.
Michaela Riley, 11th grader from C.A. Frost Environmental Academy.
Some of the first immigrants in North America were the Pilgrims, white men and women seeking religious freedom from other power-hungry white men and women. That's ironic. They brought with them disease, weaponry, and hope for a better life. Also ironic. With that, they went on to birth what would later develop into the United States of America. With the help of the indigenous people, the Native Americans, the people who already lived there, worshipped there, and had basically established their entire lives there, the Pilgrims were able to establish their lives there as well as their diseases, weaponry, and hope. Diseases like smallpox, influenza, and measles killed over 90% of the Native American population. Let's not forget the 4,000 Cherokee people who died of disease, hypothermia, and hunger on the Trail of Tears when they were forcibly ejected from their homes by none other than the president on the $20 bill. 20 African slaves were brought from Europe to America, where they helped build the foundation of what America is today. Slaves built homes, shelters, planted and harvested crops, as well as bathed, dressed, and fed the white slave owners. America was built off the back of slaves. They were forced to immigrate with the white slave masters. They were beaten, raped, and murdered. Roughly 11 million African people died during the transatlantic slave trade. Today, we live and we walk on grounds that are not ours, that have never been ours. We scream at the top of our lungs stories of greatness so loud that the people who wish to come here can't hear of our institutionalized suffering. America has yet to come to terms with its violent past, with unknown massacres happening to its neighbors right now, but has yet to discover what the future holds. I know nothing of the outcome of the revolutions my generation has planned. I do, however, know where we've come from and that we do not plan on going back. That one day I won't fear the people who are supposed to protect me, that I won't hear on the news about people getting their skin sprayed off for demonstrating their rights. The entire religions don't get stigmatized by the actions of a few, and that dreamers of today will be able to spread their dreams to their children. That one day there will be an America where everyone's tomorrow is promised. Thank you.
Simran Kaur, 10th grader from Forest Hills Northern.
From a young age, I have seen the clear lines which separate me from non-immigrant children. When my parents arrived in America in the late 1990s, with nothing but a few Indian rupees in their pockets, they were forced to start from square one. Their college degrees from India were worth nothing in America. With 2 mouths to feed, my dad started his job search. He worked many low-wage jobs to support himself, his wife, and his baby. Through years of hard work and sleepless nights, my dad went from filling gas at stations in the pouring rain on freezing nights for minimum wage to owning a very small local store downtown. It's nothing impressive on the outside, but the amount of work, sweat, pain, and tears that went into that small building makes it something greater. Some customers treat my parents, who wear turbans, have thick Indian accents, and dark brown skin, with respect and kindness. Others come into my parents' store and spew vile hate from their prejudiced mouths. Do you even speak English? Why are you ruining America by taking all of our jobs? This is not your land. Go back to your own country because no one wants you here. Hearing such things from a young age always worried and hurt me. I never had a feeling of belonging. Am I just an intruder? Do my white classmates really deserve more than me because my parents came to this country later than their parents did? And what if someone goes further and physically hurts my parents? My father actually got robbed at gunpoint recently. I'm not sure if the robber's intent was racist, and I guess I'll never know. Could this unsafe environment and situation have been avoided if my parents were born in America and their college degrees were valid to get them the jobs that they are capable of doing? Maybe. Would they still have to deal with racist comments on the daily if they were born in America and had perfectly common American accents? Maybe. Actually, why am I saying maybe? I know that even if my parents were born in America and had perfectly common American accents, they would still be dealing with racism because of the color of their skin. And how can I know this? Well, I'm a perfect example. I, an American citizen, born and raised right here in Grand Rapids, have to deal with so much racism and hate even though it's 2018. Racism does still exist. It's internalized. It's easier to turn our backs on our community members with problems that we may not be dealing with, and it's easier to only deal with the problems that are directly affecting us. Some of us have the freedom to pick and choose which problems we speak about. Some of us have the freedom to pick and choose which topics we fight for. When the topic doesn't directly affect us, it's so much easier to turn away. Not everyone has such a luxury, though. I guess I'm one of those unlucky kids because I can't change the fact that my parents are immigrants. They are people of color. And I guess, as a nation, we can't change the internalized racism that infects the hearts and minds of so many of us. And I guess we can't change the absurd notions that people carry with them and share, calling their racist ideologies just simple political views. And I guess opinions matter more and are believed more than legitimate facts. And I guess people of color will always be seen as the intruders, and the immigrants and the ones ruining America. And I guess it's easier for everyone to ignore the facts that basically every single white family has immigrated here at one point or another. And I guess it's less complicated to ignore the fact that this is not the land of white people. It's just effortless, ignoring the fact that we killed and pushed so many Native Americans off their land. And to this day, we do not treat them right. Pretending that this land belongs to, and always has belonged to, white Americans is just easier. I guess it's just simpler to pick and choose which parts of history we, as a nation, teach our youth. I guess the lives of immigrants are nothing but bothersome political debates that so many privileged people have to deal with in long office meetings before returning home to eat dinner with their families who have most likely never experienced such things, while immigrants deal with the real problems in the real world. A world where they can't turn their backs on an issue or sleep on a topic just because this topic about immigrants' rights, their rights, my parents' rights, affects every second of our lives. We are people, not just problems up for debate.
Mayana Agboy, 9th grader from University Prep Academy.
My name is Mayana Agboy. I am a daughter of an immigrant man named Wisdom Yao Agboy. Growing up, I've always loved my father, and I only had my father. Seeing him work from 8 in the morning down to 10 o'clock at night, it hurt me because I've never had him next to me. He's always working, house to house to house. He's a painter, and now he has his own business, yet people still discriminate him. They tell him to go back to Africa. Do you know how to speak English? I can't understand you. And people look at me weird. You're not supposed to be here. What was your mother thinking? That wasn't right. Being mixed is hard because I'm seen as a fusion. I'm seen as a weird being that wasn't originally supposed to be here. That white and black can't mix wasn't never supposed to. Add the fact that I'm part of the LGBTQ community. I'm weird. I don't have a clothing style. I don't have a set personality. I'm everywhere. I'm different and I'm weird. People today don't like weird. Lately, there's been a lot of talk about a wall. A big wall that will block other people from many different countries from coming into America. Our president is trying to deport most of all immigrants and put up a wall to keep more from coming in a means of making America great again. But America wouldn't be so great, would it? See, somewhere online I read a quote and it said, "Only the foolish build a wall, while the wise create bridges." So instead of making connections and helping other countries, the president wants to keep out everyone out in a way of making America great again. But are we great if we deny thousands of immigrant families citizenship because they come from a certain part of the world? Are we great if we rather spend millions of dollars on a wall that can create medical support for the sick and homes for the homeless? Are we really great if we rather advance our military instead of our schools? Are we really great if all we care about is ourselves? I'm sorry, Mr. Trump, but building a wall won't make us great. Banning transgender people from the military won't make us great. Reaching out to other countries to share and receive information and help is great. Helping other countries in need is great. Caring for the weak American and immigrant is great. Accepting everyone as who they are, as a person, is great. Helping prevent animal abuse is great. Doing the things that will make a positive impact in everyone's life is great. And building walls won't help you achieve your goal of making America great again. If we don't do anything to help America grow in a positive way, our straits will only get worse. The number of deaths and threats will rise. More drugs will be sold. More families will be left incomplete. More people will starve, and more people will not have homes. Our education will soon only be available for the rich, and we will be left with a big wall preventing any help coming our way. Like Malcolm X once said, I don't see an American dream, I see an American nightmare. We can always turn this nightmare into a dream. All you have to do is tear one wall down at a time, and at the end of it all those broken walls will make a bridge that will lead this country into actual greatness. It doesn't matter what wall you tear down. Maybe it's the wall of racism, or the wall of perfect image, or the wall of anti-LGBTQ. No matter what wall you decide to tear down, it's always another step to succeeding. It's another step to growing as a community, and it's also another step as growing as a person. Because you won't see all the people that you are affecting by your racism until you open your mind, your eyes, and actually care about more than money, politics, and power. Thank you.
Zubaida Abdallah, second grader from Excel Charter Academy.
My name is Zubaida Abdallah. I am 7 years old. Growing up as a Somali Muslim in Grand Rapids is sometimes scary. When I went to Excel Charter Academy school for the first time, I felt scared because I thought people were going to treat me differently, like leave me out and not be my friend. When I went outside to play, I thought people were not going to play with me because I have a hijab on. When I went to school, some people made fun of me. They said, I don't want to play with you because you are Muslim and I don't play with Muslims. But I decided to play with them and they made friends with me. Now I feel happy and I made lots of friends. My friends are using kind words and not saying bad stuff to me. My best friend Layla is Muslim and my close friends are Muslim too. If you are Muslim and wear a hijab and nobody wants to play with you, you should ask another Muslim friend to play with you. My advice to you is that I want everyone to be friends, and it doesn't matter if you are Muslim or not.
Chanel Hill, ninth grader from University Prep Academy.
We seek and understand to embrace differences by coming to a realization to see that we're all not the same, and even though we have our differences, we can all connect. We may be different, but we can still have conversations. We may be different, but we can still laugh together. We may be different, but we can still enjoy time we spend together. Our differences is what makes us unique. I believe that immigration reform shouldn't include the extension of a border wall because some people want to come here for a better life for themselves and for their family. Building a wall stops them from having a better opportunity to be successful. Building a wall will stop them from having hope, and a wall will also keep them from their families. As people, we all want to do good, and the people who wants to come here wants the same for themselves. I think that any and everyone should be able to get the same opportunity for education and jobs here, no matter where they came from and how they live. Everyone should have a chance to be successful. The problem is not accepting differences. And as a society, we need to make changes, whether those changes may be allowing others into your life or accepting what is different to you but normal to others. Effort is better than no effort. It's on us to make our world a better place.
Sophia Ferenzi, 6th grader from Grand Rapids Museum School.
Hello, my name is Sophia Ferenzi, and as he already said, I go to Grand Rapids Public Museum School. One of the most prominent issues in our country today is the dispute over immigration laws and policies. As our country grows older and new generations are saying and doing radical things, our opinions about these matters are changing. But never have they been as disputed or as important as they are now. However, as we consider the future of this debate, we forget the past. There have been so many immigrants that have shaped our country into what it is today, and I think they deserve some recognition. So many of the things that many Americans take for granted wouldn't exist without immigrants. For example, Google. Did you know that the founder of our favorite search engine was an immigrant from Moscow, Russia? The CEO was also an immigrant. Albert Einstein, our most well-known genius, he was an immigrant. Madeleine Albright, our first female Secretary of State, was an immigrant. So many people who weren't originally from this country, and I didn't even know it. But think about it. Without these people, we wouldn't be where we are today as a country or as individuals. Google probably wouldn't exist, and where would we be without Google? Well, we would probably be dead. And I mean, Albert Einstein was kind of important too. So seriously, we need immigrants. America is about getting where you want to be, no matter where you started. So that should go for everyone. Thank you.
Shavion Gibbs, 11th grader from CA Frost.
It is titled, We Are All Humans. Immigrants. They're all people who come to live permanent in a foreign country. As you know, there are a lot of people in the United States that are considered immigrants. There are a lot of legal and illegal immigrants in the United States who are trying to get jobs, and it's very difficult for them. They also have a hard time accessing affordable housing, healthcare, and education. The fact that people are labeled immigrants automatically brands them and decides what their future is going to be. When people migrate from a different country to become a U.S. citizen, they are branded as terrorists, outsiders, weird, and just downright different. All they want to be is just like you and get equal opportunities in their lives. When immigrants get here, most of them come with their children. They believe that their children will receive equal opportunity in education as everyone else. That's not always the case. They are treated with disrespect and contempt. When this happens, eventually they lose their self-esteem and their morals. This starts them on a down spiral, and it causes more misery than people can see at first. When you think about it, this goes for all people, not just immigrants. We're all human, so why don't we treat each other like we are? Another problem that immigrants face is trying to find a place to live when they get to the U.S. Those who are born in the States have a hard enough time trying to find affordable housing and have money saved up from living here our whole lives. I would assume that it's even more difficult for them because they're attempting to start a new life in a new country. All they want is equal opportunity. Yes, I did use that phrase again. I only use it because it's the only correct phrase to use. When they look for houses to rent or buy, the prices suddenly seem to go up. I don't see why they need to be categorized into a certain neighborhood away from everyone else. There is something wrong with that scenario. First of all, it makes them an easy target. Second of all, it just keeps reminding everyone that they are different, but different isn't always bad. Immigrants are people from a different country trying to take over. They're not. Instead, they are people from a different country trying to start a new life. In order for them to do what they want to do, we have to give them a chance to do so. We all get sick sometimes, so why do immigrants have to be treated like their illnesses don't matter? Can anyone answer my question? It's because we're still stuck in the mindset that everyone who comes to the U.S. is not as good as us. We are still in the mindset that we're better than them just because we had the luck to be born in this country when they didn't. Just because they come from a different country does not mean they should be denied the same health care we get. If we pay for it like we do, they should be able to get it just as much as we do. Equality is key. We have to treat them like we treat each other. Stop acting like they're outsiders. The The whole point to my speech is to point out the flaws that we as Americans have. We must treat each other with equality regardless where we come from. We are all humans. We are all created equally, so we should all act that way. In my eyes, immigrants are no longer immigrants. They're just like the rest of us, humans.
Alora Mu, 4th grader from Excel Charter Academy.
My name is Alora. I am 10 years old. I have 3 little brothers and 1 big brother. I am the only girl in the family, and I was also born in the United States. Growing up in Grand Rapids is sometimes hard because people make fun of me because I'm a different color than them, and that I also speak 1 different language than them. It is also hard because I came from a different country than them. I want people to know that treating people unfairly is so mean. It doesn't matter if you are from a different country or speak different languages, because we are all the same. People always call black people dumb or stupid, but some people have made it through college and are doctors, lawyers, or have their own company. Something that we can help refugees with is some speaking and writing. That is how we can help refugees and immigrants and provide them things needed to ensure success.
Mariah Barrera, 10th grader from City High Middle.
So in this interview, JP, who's the one I took the photo of, explains his immigration story, his political endeavors, and his hopes for the future. JP is from Mexico. His family relocated to the United States. They had a family in Los Angeles, which created a comfortable atmosphere for them. Eventually, their journey brought them to Grand Rapids. Now, being here for 13 years, JP admires the atmosphere. For him, his status of undocumentation has always been a fact. He's always been aware of it. Through jokes and humor, he has never shied away from this aspect of his identity. Thankfully, he has received a lot of support from many of his friends. Beyond the people facet of Grand Rapids, he explains it's a good city, and he takes pride in its ever-changing vibrancy. Although JP expresses his satisfaction here, he sometimes feels that he could have been better off in Los Angeles. It seems as if there are more routes to success there in terms of education, the college-bound senior says. He refers to the California Dream Act, which allows some undocumented students to apply for and receive state-based financial aid and institutional scholarships. Unfortunately, legislation just like this has yet to surface in Michigan. Due to this lack of aid, college applications can be a challenge for undocumented students. This was brought to JP's attention through a conversation with his mother in 10th grade about his future. He says it was a sunrise-sunset moment. The awareness and thought of the future was the sunrise, but the uncertainty in growing up elicited the sunset. Now, as a high school senior, JP is experiencing firsthand the challenges he had to think about as a sophomore. I've had to maneuver around schools to apply to other schools that give emotional and financial support to DACA and other undocumented immigrants, JP explains. The ambitious senior has applied to many prestigious schools as well as local schools such as U of M, all of which offer support to undocumented immigrants. JP explains his mindset. Right now, he and other recipients of DACA are kind of in limbo, he says, alluding to limbo in the inferno, where people are awaiting their imminent fates. We're waiting on Congress and what they decide to do. I don't know what is going to happen, I just hope for the best. As for the future, JP wants to be politically active and advocate for DACA. Fortunately, he has gotten a head start on his political endeavors. Last summer, after losing a friend, JP found motivation to get connected into something that matters. He reached out to the Hispanic Center of West Michigan, which connected him with Michigan United, a statewide organization of community members and institutions fighting for many causes. He attended a class that taught them how to politically organize and call for action from politicians. When describing these experiences, JP highlights the importance of political advocacy, sometimes over social advocacy. Although he feels protests are great ways to launch efforts in supporting things such as DACA, there is an imbalance. A lot engage in powerful protests but are lacking in political representation, JP says. He wants to take a more proactive role in the fight for immigration, and he feels there are many other ways to get involved with efforts besides protesting. So how can you get involved? Well, JP explains that other undocumenteds can start by calling their representatives and telling their stories, which could involve stepping out of their comfort zone. There's a big issue, he exclaims. Too many people are hidden behind a shadow. In turn, he feels this will give U.S. citizens different perspectives on undocumented immigrants. He urges people to also get informed. Too often, prejudices rise to the surface and cause Americans to have skewed viewpoints on this issue. He advises that getting informed also has to do with the news outlets you get your information from. News sources should be a good balance of liberal and conservative. Looking to the future, JP has additional aspirations besides keeping an active role in his advocacy endeavors. Ever since I was younger, I've always had a fascination with space. He hopes to become an astrophysicist. Beyond his hopes and aspirations, JP wants people to see him for who he is, beyond the title of undocumented. He wants people to see him for his accomplishments, not for his skin color. At the end of the day, he emphasizes, undocumenteds have a lot in common with those who push back against them. Getting hung up on skin color is too divisive, he says. We should focus on values like family, education, etc. At the end of the day, we are not that different. There is more than what meets the eye about JP. He is not only an undocumented immigrant, he is an intelligent, politically literate, creator of change, well-spoken advocate for DACA, and beyond that, a human being.
Marinaz Dadgar, 4th grader from Kenosha Elementary.
Good morning. I'm Marinaz Dadgar, a 4th grader attending at Kenosha. I'm an immigrant, don't worry, a legal one, but today I want to speak as someone with kindness and empathy. Immigration is a process that most natural-born citizens don't think about. The reason why is because they don't really have to. They're not an immigrant, so they're not aware of how it might feel to experience that sort of struggle. Immigrants have to leave their old lives behind. They must leave all that they considered their world: friends, homes, jobs, customs, and traditions. When they arrive in the United States, they must rebuild their world. Immigrants must purchase a house or begin to pay their rent, and they must also learn a new language if they do not already speak it. They must seek out a job and must adjust to the values that are practiced in the United States. They are hurled with accusations just based on their appearances, the faith that they practice, the languages that they speak of, how they dress, or their accent. It is easy to blame immigrants, people who can be easily accused, people who might not even have the resources to defend themselves. We let fear corrupt us to the point that we refuse to accept that we are much the same, that we have not seen through the eyes of someone who went through so much conflict to get into the United States to begin with. Immigrants are set up for failure, where they must tackle a new environment without any worthy help or guidance. They receive the most difficult jobs and are hardly given resources to actually learn the new language. They are separated into different communities, considered weird and unusual, and something to be feared. I don't think I can ever forget that moment where I heard my sister's classmates whisper amongst themselves that my sister was a terrorist, only because she wore a hijab and spoke in different languages. It was a common joke between them that she was planning to blow up the school. They disregarded the person that we were, isolated us, and made fun of us, because to them they were only some labels, some shaky images of a distant country that you only heard in the news. Immigrants are considered entitled, just because they try to get the jobs to support their families. It is an equity that we try to give immigrants with the right resources to actually adjust. People are frustrated, yes, but that is not an excuse to label immigrants as criminals and lazy people to be feared and to be joked about. It will be much more easier to get along when we actually start to consider that person as another human being who deserves the same decency and respect.
Abdallah, 4th grader from Excel Charter Academy.
Hello, my name's Abdullah Jamal Abdullah. I have 2 brothers and 1 sister. I go to Excel Charter Academy. Amina J. Muhammad once said that we are all entitled to be free and equal. That's why my grandmother, grandfather, uncle, mom, and dad came to the U.S. as a refugee, not only for a better life, but a better opportunity for me and my siblings. I want people to know that the life of a refugee is not always easy. My mom said that there were many obstacles her and her family went through. From all the ones my mother told me about, I found most heartbreaking when she told me about the day the family left, where she had grown up. She told me that she cried leaving because it was a place her and her family will always love. Even though it was not much, they still found happiness in the little things they had. In life, people like to judge, and many have this image of a refugee as being poor, homeless, and uneducated. That's where many are wrong. These stereotypes are misplaced. Many refugees now have grown to be amazing people, owning big businesses and living happy, rich lives. This city and country should make refugees feel at home and make sure that they have a life plan and options. I will say that I'm honored to be a refugee and being a part of a family of refugees because I enjoy the stories my mother shares with us. I will end with this saying by Margaret Mead: always remember that you are absolutely unique, just like everyone else.
Ozzy Leone, 11th grader from University Prep.
Immigrants come to the United States in search for a better life. Many immigrants think a lot about getting sent back to their countries. They stress about it more when they have children. The child and parents live with fear that one day they'll be separated. The reason why immigrants fear to go back to their countries is because they have no future. I myself have been to Mexico and can see how much a person struggles. Mexico doesn't really have job opportunities like we have here. I also seen how some of the kids don't even bother going to school. When it comes to school, many of the kids don't believe it helps because they don't see that they have a future. I would understand why an immigrant would have fear to be sent back because Mexico doesn't really have anything to offer you. Being deported affects an immigrant because they're leaving everything behind, like their family, their job, their education. When a parent is deported, it leaves other parents struggling to provide for their family, which then in some cases the oldest child will then want to leave school in order to help out financially. Also, having both parents deported can affect both the child and the parent. It affects the parent because they have no idea what then happens to their child. That then can cause the parent to fall into depression because their family member or mate is in another country and who knows if they'll be able to see each other again. Starting an education for the career that you want to go into and then having to leave it because you're being deported is hard for some people. Having a decent job and then having to find out that you're going to be deported is stressful for some people because then they have to start job searching again in the other country. Thank you.
Sophia Almonte, 8th grader from Grand Rapids Museum School.
Good morning. My name is Sophia Almonte, and I am an 8th grade student from the Grand Rapids Public Museum School. I've been thinking about the question, does one's citizenship status affect their ability to access affordable housing, healthcare, education, employment, etc.? And does one's status limit their choices for the future? These are some hard questions to answer, but they shouldn't be, because somebody's value of life shouldn't depend on where they are from or how they got there. It should depend on who they are as a person. I used to think that everyone was treated equally until I switched schools, but that was the case, because no matter where you go, you always experience discrimination or inequality. So my answer to the question is yes, where you're from does affect your quality of life, but it shouldn't. So what can we do to change that?
Amalia Barrera, 11th grader from University Prep.
Hi, I am Amalia Barrera. Deportation has and already had affected many people of this country. It has always affected me and my family. I come from all over this world. My mom is mixed and my dad is Hispanic. This is a huge impact on me every day, and I think about it every day. When it will happen? Will it happen to us? Seeing people from stores, from their homes, taken from their children, from their whole family, just because they weren't born here.
But aren't we supposed to be the land of the free, the land of opportunities? In other countries like Mexico, Argentina, and many other countries, we have low opportunities, so we seek a place which is known for these things. And what? We can't get in? Deportation is a worst-case scenario for someone like me. Losing my father would be the most heartbreaking. Honestly, I really wouldn't know what to do. But one day, maybe even 2 to 3 years ago, my dad decided to go see his family in Mexico. And when he came back in the airport, they took one good look at him and seen tattoos and jewelry and decided... I'm sorry.
It's okay. Take your time.
I decided to take one good look at him. And they took his card. My mother at the time. Sorry. My mom at the time didn't really know what was going on, and neither did I. When we found out, all we could do was cry, thinking he could get taken away from us. We had to get a lawyer and spend money we didn't really have. Luckily, he got it back, but not everybody is so lucky. But knowing even if you have these things, they can still get taken away and put into process of deportation. It is a huge scare for me. We'll always continue wondering if it's going to happen to me again. This thing can happen to your family too. I want to be here. I want to be here. I want my dad to be here with me and the rest of my family. Just take a deep breath. I want things to change where no one, and I mean not a single person, has to worry about a family member getting taken away. Everybody should be able to live here no matter who they are or where they come from.
Nithya Balakrishna, 9th grader from Forest Hills Northern.
Immigration is a very personal topic for me, as my parents are both immigrants from India. They came here in the 90s to seek jobs and education for my sister and I. My dad came here on an H-1B visa for work, and my mom came on an H-4 visa. They have sacrificed a lot to come to America and provide opportunities to my sister and I that they never had. In fact, my mother was the first one in her family to go to and complete college. She took 2 years of college in India and completed her degree at Grand Valley State, while still taking care of her infant and toddler daughters. My dad is a physical therapist who, as I've said, came here on an H-1B visa and went to a small town in the Upper Peninsula called St. Ignace. It was difficult for them to travel to a new country and not know the customs and the culture and had to leave their entire family behind. St. Ignace at that time was basically an all-white community. And my parents were most likely the first foreigners to live there. So it was difficult for them to adjust to the new town. They experienced a lot of hostility and discrimination, particularly after 9/11. My dad, to this day, still experiences discrimination at his work. Some of the patients where he works tell him that they don't want him to care for them because of his skin color or religion. Sometimes the patients or the families are hostile towards him, asking him questions about his race and his religion. It has been a difficult journey for my parents. Because of this, it took them a while to become naturalized citizens. They got their citizenship in 2011, almost a decade after they first came here. What people don't realize is how difficult it is to come to this country. My parents are both hardworking members of the community. They work every day to provide for their family are involved in passing down Indian tradition and heritage in West Michigan. Now, in our heated political climate, we forget these stories of people risking everything to travel to America, the lands of freedom and opportunity. We judge immigrants' merit or intelligence or worth ethic based on which country they're from, rather than who they are as a person. We have an unnecessary fear of immigrants, fueled by our governments and administration that seeks to reduce all immigration, legal and illegal. This rhetoric has to stop if we want to move forward in our communities and ultimately in our country. Without a doubt, immigrants are one of the most hardworking groups of people in our country. They work tirelessly to make this country better and more progressive and to ensure everybody gets a voice in our democracy. They are our doctors and nurses, our scientists and engineers, our politicians and government workers, our teachers and educators, and our leaders. And to me, most importantly, they are my parents. Thank you.
Catherine Huang, 9th grader from Forest Hills Northern.
All right, good morning. Thank you everyone for being here. My name is Catherine Huang, and like he said, I am from Forest Hills Northern High School. Today I would like to begin by sharing you guys a quote said by John F. Kennedy. He said, "Everywhere immigrants have enriched and strengthened the fabric of American life," and I really do like that quote. My mother has persevered through the struggles she faced when immigrating here to the United States, and today I would love to share her experience. In the late 1990s, Korea experienced a major financial crisis called the Imf Crisis. This was just around the time when my parents had gotten married. Because of this, it was really difficult to have businesses there, and my dad, who comes from a family of restaurant owners, found it best to sell the restaurant they had been running and immigrate here to the United States. Now, it had been much harder for my mom to immigrate here because she had put in so much work to become a successful dancer, and she was able to pursue that dream of hers, and she was able to accomplish so many things. She was really well known around that town. She had appeared on television. She was rewarded by her city mayor in Korea, and it was just really difficult for her because immigrating here to the United States meant that she had to leave all her hard work behind, and most importantly, she had to leave her loved ones behind because the rest of her family had been decided to stay in Korea. So it was just my mom and my dad that immigrated here, and again, it was really difficult because, I quote from her, "Coming here to the United States was a very tough time for our family because we had to start a completely new life with a new language, a new culture, and new people all around. I had no one on my side of the family here with me, so it was very challenging to leave my loved ones behind." And that just kind of shows how much people are willing to give up just to start a new life. And my parents, they legally immigrated here to the U.S., so the next step for them was to get their green card, and my brother, Yoonjae, was nearing the age of which he had to attend preschool, so my mom knew that they had to get this done quick for him to start a new American life at a public school. And however, my dad had been working in a restaurant, so it took significantly longer time for them to get their green card. And my mom tells me that the process of getting their green card was the most difficult. And unfortunately, during that time, because of the amount of stress, and I know this can be caused by many different things, but unfortunately, she went through a miscarriage. And I did not even know about that till she told me about this story. And going through something like that is like one of the millions of struggles that people go through, and it's just hard to think about what people have to go through in order to just simply start a new life. And so I feel like as a society we should help build people rather than tear them down because of their struggles. And so many people just kind of go through the unimaginable, and eventually they were able to receive it in time, and it was the beginning of their new life here in the United States of America. Several years later, my mom took the test to receive her citizenship here, and that had been long after she received her green card. And this step was extremely important for our family because my brother had been born in South Korea. There's a rule that when a man turns 18, he is forced to join the army. And if my mom hadn't gotten the citizenship, he would have had to stop pursuing his dream of becoming a doctor and leave this country to go back and serve in the military. And that would have been heartbreaking because, he would have had to not pursue his dream, and that would mean that my mom and I, who was really close to him, had to kind of be away from him for a while. But fortunately, she was able to receive her citizenship. But I know that is something that a lot of people don't have the opportunity to have to get. And my mother's story just kind of shows how she simply was willing to give up everything she had worked so hard for in her life to start a new one for her children. And the courage and perseverance she gives me and my brother every day is unparalleled in this world. There are many people out there who want to come here to the United States and start a new life. These immigrant children may grow up to become heroes or people who just change the world, and where would we be without these people? And of course, there are so many people that are willing to give up everything, like I've said before, but when I hear stories about people struggling through immigration, it always just kind of, I think about my mom's story and just what my family had to go through, and it just kind of reminds me of how their story might be like ours and how they take on a new life here to start a new life in the United States of America. So thank you.
Nasir Abdallah in 3rd grade from Excel Charter Academy.
Yeah, pull the microphone right down close to your mouth. There you go.
Hello, my name is Nasir. I am 9 years old. I go to Excel Charter Academy and my family from Somalia. I speak English and Somali at home. I have an older brother named Abdallah and a younger sister named Zubaydah and a younger brother named Amir. And my mom and dad came to Grand Rapids before I was born. When my mom was wearing her job, everybody started to tease her and laugh at her. She didn't want to go outside in public. When my dad went to Michigan, he didn't know places like the airport or the mall, but somebody helped him. When my grandma was going outside to go places, everybody started to tease her and her and my mom. They cried because they couldn't go anywhere and had to stay home. Over the years, when people stopped bullying my mom, she felt more comfortable here. She started to live well here. Growing up in Grand Rapids as a person from a different country is hard. It's hard because I am learning 2 languages and people are new to me. I want people to know that it is mean to bully. I want them to include me so I can be their friend. The resources that should be provided are people to show us around when we get here, USA, such as a referee community where the volunteers are helping us with our homework and playing games, and to be our friends. With their help, I can learn and grow. Grand Rapids will be a better place. Please don't bully. Please don't judge people how they look. You got this. Believe in yourself. Show love show grit. The end.
Bodie Bickford in 9th grade from C.A. Frost.
This is called The Real Wall to Opportunity for Immigrants. Ever since the first explorers sailed to the New World, people have been coming to America in search for opportunity. They come because they want access to land and jobs. They come because they wanted a chance to have a better life for themselves and for their families. Over 500 years, immigrants have come to this country for the American dream. But so much about whether an immigrant will have a real access or opportunity depends on whether they are here legally or whether they are here undocumented. Some immigrants in the United States are lucky enough to come in a legal way. They go through one of the paths to the legal pass to legal immigration and they get a green card or a student visa or some other paperwork that says they can be here legally. This doesn't mean that life will be easy because people will still discriminate, but there are civil rights that people can undocumented. This means that they are here without legal documentation. They need this is called undocumented. If you or someone in your family is undocumented, then they have lots of obstacles that stand in their way of having the American dream. For instance, if they're undocumented, they cannot qualify for money from the government to help pay for housing. This is very important because rent is really high in Grand Rapids, and without that extra money, people can't afford an apartment or house, so they might have to squeeze in with family or even live in their car. If people do not have a regular place to live, it is hard for them to get to work, and it is hard for kids to get to school and do well in school. It is very hard to even find a job if you are undocumented because employers are supposed to make sure that you have your legal documents before they hire you. Undocumented people sometimes end up working for bad people who take advantage of them by not paying them fairly, or they have to work where it is unsafe and they cannot complain because they are afraid they will get deported. Undocumented kids can still go to school, but when it comes time for college, they cannot get a scholarship, and it is hard to get access to health care because they cannot get insurance. A small percent of undocumented people who come here are kids and can take advantage of the Dreamers program, which helps with some of these obstacles, but now Donald Trump is threatening to even take that away. I don't understand why. Citizenship status is a huge impact on whether someone can find opportunity. When an immigrant gets to the United States, no matter if you are undocumented or documented, you will face discrimination and have to work really hard. You will have to sacrifice and miss your homeland. If you are here undocumented, through it will be almost impossible to get access to things you need, like safe and affordable place to live, healthcare, education, and a good job. We have always been a country where immigrants have come. Lots of jobs needed immigrants to do them because there are not enough American citizens to do them, like working in the farm or fields, or even some IT jobs. We need to find a way to make sure that people who are here already can be successful. Senators and representatives also have to do immigration reform so that a responsible number of immigrants can come here legally. Thanks.
Cameron Merrill in 6th grade from Grand Rapids Public Museum School.
Hi, my name is Cameron Merrill. I believe that immigrants make great contributions to communities. I live in a diverse neighborhood that includes immigrant families. I appreciate the many cultural contributions that immigrants have on my community. They bring different food, clothing, and music through cultural diffusion. This is really cool to me because I get bored if there was only one kind of music or certain kinds of food or the same old clothes. Variety makes life more interesting. Some other contributions that immigrants make on the new communities are beliefs and ideas. New perspectives can help with comparisons of old beliefs and new beliefs, which can lead to opportunities of growth and change in the community. Understanding those new beliefs and ideas can help build empathy in the community. Also, immigrants have brought businesses to my community, which help provide jobs for the people who live there. The new stores can attract more people to shop at the businesses in our community, which helps the economy increase. Those are some of the ways immigrants have contributed to my communities. Though the contributions are important to make every community unique and special.
We'd just like to make an announcement to the speakers. Could we all have you guys speak directly into the mic? Thanks. Okay, so the next speaker is going to be Julian Pierson in 11th grade from UPrep.
Good morning. People from all over the world come to America in the hope of equality. America is thought to be a place where everyone feels comfortable and equal to one another, when the unfortunate reality is it isn't. Still to this day, people are being stereotyped based on the color of their skin, where they are from, and their beliefs. These stereotypes are building higher and higher walls between races, ethnicities, and religions. These walls are causing groups of people to not embrace their differences, and if we can come together as a whole, we can tear down these walls between us. In society, people look at your race, your color, or ethnicity. This is not fair because people should be looked at for who they are instead of what they look like. People should be able to be themselves and not be judged. Just because some black people are good at basketball, that does not mean that we are all good at basketball. Just because just because a person is Hispanic, that does not mean that they are an illegal immigrant. As a whole, people need to focus more on one's dreams, goals, and achievements rather than making stereotypes based on their religional beliefs or what they look like. Overall, I feel we can change the trend of building these walls between us. We can bring ourselves together as a whole and tear these walls down, and to where we can get to a point where people can feel comfortable for who they are without the fear of being judged. This will be the first step of having a nice flat surface where everyone can be valued as equal. Let's tear down these walls.
Cindy Mazadiergos from CA Frost in 9th grade.
Okay, so I'm a little nervous, but my dad told me I got this, so we're just gonna go for it. At a young age, we are told to dream big, to aim for the moon, so at the very least we can land among the stars. Many of us are lucky enough that we have so many tools and resources at our disposal to accomplish those dreams. Others, like my sister Vanessa, who is an illegal immigrant, doesn't have access to all that I do. 18 years ago, Vanessa, at the age of 5, crossed the border with my parents, chasing after the false idea of the American dream. Life in America has not always been easy and welcoming for my parents and sister. They have had to work relentlessly and hard for the life they have made here. When former President Barack Obama first implemented the DACA program in 2012, my sister signed up and became one of its many recipients. When I asked her what being a dreamer meant to her, she said that for the first time, after being accepted into the program, she felt like she could breathe. She had been walking around holding her breath her whole life up until this point. DACA allowed people that had entered the U.S. illegally as children to live and work legally in the U.S. under renewable 2-year permits. Before DACA, my sister had undergone many humiliations due to being an immigrant. One of the biggest humiliations having to do with her first job. Vanessa, who was 16 at the time, like many kids at that age, craved independence and decided to get a job. Her boyfriend had set her up with a job in the Mexican restaurant where he was working, and without asking her for any documentation, she was hired as a hostess. She had been working for a few days when the manager finally asked her for her social security number. And knowing that she didn't have one, she tried to avoid public humiliation by telling the manager in private. He gave her the go-ahead to continue the workday as normal while he went and talked to his boss. Later on that day, he went to go find her, and he found her in the middle of seating a family. He disregarded the fact that there were others around and proceeded to loudly announce that because she had no proof of working documents, she had to be let go. While the reasoning for letting her go was understandable, the manner in which he did so was not. Others, like my sister, have undergone similar humiliations due to their legal status, which is why DACA was such a huge step for our nation. Recently, however, there has been a lot of controversy about the future of DACA that has my family and the family of the other 800,000 dreamers worried. I believe that in a perfect world, the government would pass the American Hope Act, a bill sponsored by Representative Luis Gutierrez from Illinois, People who entered the U.S. before the age of 18 and have not been convicted of certain crimes would be eligible. They would be able to apply for conditional permanent residency, and after a few years, they could apply for lawful permanent resident status or U.S. citizenship. So far, the American Hope Act is the option that provides the quickest route to citizenship. Over 100 Democrats have already signed to co-sponsor Gutierrez's legislation. The Dreamers have had enough uncertainty and discouragement in their lives, and taking away the little bit of order and comfort in their lives provided by programs like DACA is unjust. This nation was built on immigration and dreams, which is why it is crucial to protect current immigrants with dreams of their own. Thank you.
Emma Gavraluk, in 9th grade from City High Middle.
Under our current administration, the United States Citizenship and Immigration Services says that we are no longer a nation of immigrants. This may be partially true because most of us have not immigrated directly, but the majority of us are the ancestors of immigrants. I myself am the product of immigrants. My parents immigrated to the United States in April of 2000, deciding to make this country their home, and they later obtained dual citizenship. I was born in the United States and have since also had dual citizenship both here and in Romania. Most people hear the word immigrant and associate it with the word illegal. This is an unfortunate connotation that doesn't take into account the millions of immigrants who are here in the United States with permission, and also grants us the assumption that immigrants come here willingly. However, the definition of an immigrant is a person who comes to live permanently in a foreign country. Therefore, in terms of the connotations assigned to the word immigrant, African Americans that were brought to America during the slave trade would not qualify as coming willingly. During the time of the slave trade, roughly 12 million Africans were brought against their will to perform backbreaking labor in terrible conditions. Slavery is and always has been barbaric, and those who believe that they can control what another group of people does, or whether or not they can be bought or sold, are acting on an entirely inhumane level. Yet this behavior is still seen today. Pope Alexander VI's Demarcation Bull on May 4th, 1493 ensured that Spain had the exclusive right to the land discovered by Christopher Columbus the previous year. It established a demarcation line and assigned Spain the right to acquire territorial possessions. Yet just because explorers and conquistadors came and took the land did not mean it was theirs for the taking. As we all know, the land that was found was not entirely barren, and it was lived on by the indigenous people of our country. Consequently, the common purpose of these explorers and conquistadors was to come to a foreign country to live there permanently. It cannot be overlooked that they and many of our ancestors, by definition, were immigrants. Many years have since passed, which makes it much harder to give back the land that was taken, but I believe that reparations must be made. We tell ourselves that we're a country that values diversity and values helping others. We're a nation of immigrants, altogether a portion of a global society. We therefore must recognize the importance in the defining of an immigration policy. We have long boasted that our country values the exchange of ideas and knowledge, and there are critical stories in the even larger story of immigration that are often never told. Immigration should have never been portrayed as an us and them issue, but rather a humanitarian issue. Thank you.
Elizabeth T. Kuhn in 10th grade from University Prep Academy.
To break the walls for many people is by getting to know one that has their walls up. There are the walls of sexual orientation, immigration, and discrimination. The walls that are up are placed by people that aren't as open as how you'd expect them to be. There are two sides to each story, and even if you can't hear everyone's story, the ones you can hear are meaningful and are eye-openers to many. For my family and many others, immigration has taken effect in the community. The contributions that immigrants bring are being able to work night and day, for example, to grow, pick, and package the vegetables and fruits that you eat on your dinner table. The dedication that many immigrants put into their work and their family really shows you that they moved to this country for a reason. I'm here to speak to represent my dad and many others that have to work 2 or more jobs to be able to feed their children and to buy them what they need. I am here to speak to represent those that have language barriers and aren't able to understand what others are saying, so it's harder for them to have opportunities in some places. Many assume that all immigrants are drug dealers, rapists, and other bad things. But if you really take the time to speak with someone who came here, maybe you'll learn the struggle that they face to provide and to better themselves from other opportunities that are given. Even if I am half Hispanic and half white, I have witnessed the separation between families, language barriers, and discrimination. All of these things President Trump says about immigrants aren't true. Not all immigrants commit crime. As for immigration laws, when trying to remove all immigrants, it's forcing them back to the conditions that made them want to move here in the first place. If you're able to take the time to send emails, text messages, calls, and other stuff, then you should be able to take the time and talk to someone who is an immigrant and listen to their story. Have an open mind and realize why they came here. By breaking the barriers, you're being able to see someone else's situation and see what they've gone through. Break your barriers with people who are different from you and learn a thing or two about someone. Fully grasp the information and why many of us want to break walls so immigration can be a topic that we can talk about. Thank you.
Jennifer Tovar Leon in 11th grade from University Prep Academy.
There are many reasons as to why people from different countries come to the United States. Better education, a better life, and to get out of poverty. Those are the reasons why my family immigrated to the United States. Education was and still isn't an easy thing to obtain. My dad didn't finish 5th grade because his parents couldn't pay for it. So he started to work. My mom almost went to college, but her sister ended up getting sick, and my grandparents couldn't afford both schooling and health care. When they had me, they decided to come over here so they can give me a better life and a better education. Now that's what motivates me to keep going on. Sorry.
It's okay. Doing good.
I will hopefully be the first one in my family to go to college. Hopefully I'll be the first one to go to college and actually finish it. Thank you. It's not fair to deport nearly 800,000 dreamers just because they want a better education. They want to have an opportunity and to be someone in life and make their parents proud. The federal government should do is instead of deporting every single immigrant, they should only deport the ones that have caused major crimes. Many Americans talk and make decisions about immigration without actually knowing what it is living in other countries. They need to start talking to more immigrants about what living in their home countries is like in order to find solutions. My plan after high school is to go straight to college and obtain a degree in something in the medical field. I want to make my parents proud and not disappoint them. I want to be somebody in life. I wouldn't have this opportunity if my parents never made the decision to come to the U.S., and I am thankful for it every day.
Manuel Galindo Peralta in 9th grade from C.A. Frost.
Everyone here has a story behind them, and Michigan is full of them. There's many immigrants, and I'm proud that I'm in Grand Rapids because it's a very diverse place, and especially my school. Now, I'm here to tell a life experience that impacts me every single day. to give a perspective of who is in our community. A person who is a part of a community who took many risks for a better life, not only for them, but for their families. It is who I proudly call my dad. My dad is from a really poor town in Veracruz, Mexico. He grew up with 4 brothers and 5 sisters in a very small house and a small plot of land. That is all that they had to support themselves with. A small land of coffee bean plants and a very poor house. They were so poor that when it would rain, they would all have to go under the table because the water would come in through their house. There were days when they had nothing to eat, and if they did, it consisted of a small portion of beans and tortillas. That's all they could have. My dad and his brothers and sisters had days where they would go to schools for 4 hours, and the rest of the days they had to help my grandfather to earn at least a bit of money to buy what they needed. My dad never completed middle school. If any of them got sick, they would have to use natural remedies because the closest clinic was 2 hours away and the nearest hospital was 1 day away by walking. Cars were not an option because no one could afford one, and taxis were very expensive. When my father came to the United States, his initial plan was to come to the United States for 3 years and then return. He first arrived in Chicago because he had heard there were a lot of jobs and places to work there. He wanted to work really hard, and every penny he earned, he sent it back to Mexico to help his parents. After 1 year in Chicago, he had heard there were better pay in Grand Rapids, so he came here. After 2 years, he had met my mother and stayed in Grand Rapids for another 17 years. He is the youngest boy in the family and the first one to come to America, the land of opportunities. His only goal coming here was for his parents to give him what they could not give him, a happy life free of worries. Not to be scared. He doesn't want to be scared going to work and frightened by the fact that one day my brother and I might never get to see him come home again. I will never forget when I went to Mexico and my grandmother showed me a 2 by 1 inch little picture of my dad and started crying on the spot, tears of sorrow for all the risks he has done for them. She misses him every single day when I call her. For 21 years, he has not been able to be in the arms of my grandmother, who only hear each other through the phone. It has been 21 years since he has left the warmness of what he calls home, where his brothers and sisters, his mother and father, hope to see him once again. I hope one day he will truly be happy. Thank you.
Haley Frankaitis in 9th grade from C.I. Frost.
Immigration, a word that has sparked controversy for ages, but it seems like currently it is the heat of every political debate. The current immigration laws are tight and cruel, taking these people from everything they have to nothing. Unfortunately, our current president has a very unfair view of immigrants. He uses stereotypes and thinks that they are all bad people, and this is not true. They deserve a chance just like everyone else. Immigrants move to America for freedom and a new future. The reason immigrants The reason immigrants enter illegally is because they are nervous they will be denied. Immigrants also fear that it will take too much time to process the results and they will be without a job and run out of money. In order to become a legal citizen, you have to take a quiz. Even American-born citizens would fail. This quiz is irrelevant to living in the United States. Becoming a citizen should be more related to who you are and why you want to come to America, and your moral values. Making the quiz too difficult and unfair is why we have this problem with illegal immigrants. Imagine you're a little girl, and you were born in America. You have a brother, and he's older, and he was also born in America. Your family lives in fear every single day because your parents are illegal immigrants who came to America to start a family and make money for you. One night, your parents gets taken and rushed back to Mexico. You're left with nothing but your brother and an adoption agency. Does this situation seem humane? Taking families apart from each other just because they came into America illegally. For some people, America is the only way for them to get into school, make money, and even start a family somewhere safe. I think we should stop pushing people out and focus on legalizing more people. They're already here, and leaving them with nothing is just not fair. Let's make becoming an immigrant simpler so we don't have to take people out of the country they love. Immigrants are humans too. Using these strict regulations are cruel. If we make the process of becoming a citizen easier, we would have lots more legal citizens. They want to come to America because they just need a chance. And although there really is no solution to immigration, I think taking it the wrong way by being strict and hurtful to these people will just cause more resistance. Peace is what we need in this confusing debate of immigration. Thank you.
Erica Starks in 6th grade from Museum School.
Okay, that's a lot of people. Good morning. My name is Erica Starks. I'm a 6th grade Museum School student. I am honored to be here at Kidspeak for the second time. Last time I was here, I talked about racism and my Instagram. But this time, I would like to talk about just immigration, I promise. The question I chose was, what effect does deportation have on you or someone you know? I picked that question because I have 3 friends that I immediately thought of once I read that question. My first friend name is Kevin. Kevin is the most funniest boy I have ever met. I used to sit by Kevin in both classes. Kevin is good at soccer, art, and he loves anime. I, therefore, am terrible at soccer, can't make a straight line, and the only anime I've ever watched is Pokemon. My second friend is Emily. Emily is so smart and generous. You could say, I'm confused on this question, and she would tell you book, chapter, and verse. My last friend is Dolores. Although we all have learned Dolores means pains in Spanish, she is still our somewhat delightful little flower. Her brother has Down syndrome. You can already tell she shows good care to her brother. If any of them got deported and I didn't try to stop it, I wouldn't be able to live with myself. Now, I'm not going to say their race. And don't think about it. Just accept that they're here. But if any of them got deported and I didn't try to do anything to stop it, I couldn't live with myself. Now, even though we have crimes who have been made from people who have immigrated, have you thought about how many crimes are made by us? I mean, we're not the best people. Out of all the sweat, tears, and strength put in just to get to the border, and either be told to leave or get most of your things taken away, and being worried about getting deported. That is the touch on my soul deportation has on me, and when it comes to some people I know. Thanks.
Torin Van Sulikem in 9th grade from C.A. Frost.
Morning. I chose the question, does an increase in the immigrant population threaten the distribution of resources, and does it impact how the United States can keep its citizens safe? First off, an increase in the immigration wouldn't threaten how we would distribute our resources. In fact, it would somewhat help it because of farming. Most immigrants are willing to work labor-intensive jobs, such as farming or construction work. Their willingness to do such jobs will keep prices low and allow produce and production to stay flowing. With the right laws and vetting in place, the United States can keep their citizens safe while also allowing immigrants from war-torn countries to find peace here in America. In states like Idaho, Wyoming, and California, where a lot of land is dedicated to farming and produce, you'll notice there's a correlation to that with their immigrant population, as with states like New York or Florida, where there is a lot of new buildings popping up every new year. The reason for that is that labor-intensive jobs such as farming in the dry West Coast heat or stacking beams applying sides in the East Coast weather, immigrants are more likely and willing to fill those job positions. Immigrants with a questionable legal status are also more willing to work for less money, meaning farms and construction companies can pay less to their workers, thus use that money for more resources on it. With more immigrants ready and willing to work those jobs, the farms can keep up with the citizens' demand for those food/resources. Also, immigrants wouldn't threaten the safety of the citizens in the United States because they are mostly coming here for refuge. Already, the United States has a process to make sure that immigrants coming here aren't dangerous. Most immigrants coming to the U.S. have dreamed of being here for years and have no intention of threatening us. Most terrorists are actually U.S. born, meaning immigrants do not wish ill on us. Having immigrants in the U.S. allows for revenue to be generated and buildings to be built cheaply and carefully. They are not a threat to the country or citizens in any way. Thank you.
Ikechanyura Okawasi in 4th grade from Southwest Community Campus.
Hi, my name is Nkasinyeta Okawasi, and I am 9 years old. But there are some other numbers that are even more important for you to know. 7. 7 years I've been without my dad. 3. I was 3 years old when he got deported. 13. I'll be 13 years old when he can try to come back. My dad's name is Nana Okawasi. He was awesome like most dads are, but I haven't hugged him because he lived so far. How it affected me was I was sad a lot, and sometimes I still am. I'm never going to Daddy Dollar Dance, obviously, and it still hurts to see friends with their dad. Soccer, graduations, awards, and basketball. All of my accomplishments. He has missed them all. When my dad got deported, it took away half of who I am, and even if he tries to come back, I don't know if he can. But between missed phone calls and time difference, our relationship hasn't been the same since. I'm a girl without a father to come home to. He may not be here, but he is in my heart. I'll be whole again when we aren't apart. My father isn't here, as you can see. Deportation should never be the policy.
Preston Summers, 10th grade, C.A. Frost.
Okay, so my name is Preston Summers. Recently, the United States immigration policy has been in question. Ever since the terrorist attacks of September 11th, 2001, citizens have been paranoid about people wanting to harm the country. Through time, the paranoia has changed from the fear of legitimate criminals coming and hurting the country to just categorizing everybody who isn't from here and trying to send them back because they could have been a criminal. Since the election of Donald Trump into the presidential office, the Immigration and Customs Services has become more ruthless and merciless when they're arresting undocumented immigrants. Their families are oftentimes split, and the arresting officers will like tackle them and stuff like they're murderers or something. And I was watching this video, and there was this big dude, like real hefty guy, and he comes through and he just clocks this like older lady kind of thing, and she just arrested her. And then there's a woman named Lillian Calderon. She is a Guatemalan immigrant who came to the United States when she was 3, and she was arrested and detained for a month with her 2 children. When she was talking about the way she was arrested, she said that her children have nightmares because of the manner of her arrest. So also ICE, which is the Immigration and Customs Service Enforcement, also has arrested people when they were in the process of becoming documented. There were some arrests even in the service's own buildings. And this dividing of the families and arresting in the immigration buildings is unlawful. And ACLU did bring a lawsuit to President Trump because the things that they are doing are violations of the Immigrant and Nationality Act. And then there's another guy named John Mohan, and he's a spokesperson for ICE, and he was confronted with this, and he did not comment. But really, I don't think I would comment either, because like if my guys were like acting like that, I wouldn't want to talk about that. I would kind of want to fire them or something. Where the immigration policies should be fair and equal, they're stacked against non-white immigrants, and even in some situations are stacked against white immigrants from Europe. Central Americans are being treated like criminals to society, as well as Muslim people and just, I mean, people from like South America as well. But I think that Muslim immigrants have kind of been targeted a lot because of a small few who are crazy radicals that I don't even think are really Muslim, and do bad stuff. And then Latin Americans have also been targeted, which I think is stupid, because why are you targeting people who are technically still part of America? And when Donald Trump said that they're gonna make America great again, Mexico is a part of North America, and you're really just hurting yourself.
Nishka Muzamdar, an 11th grade from Forest Hills Northern.
Many immigrants come to America for getting a better opportunity for not only them, but their family. Around 25 years ago, my dad had just graduated from college in India when an American company was recruiting employees to work in America. My dad wanted to experience life in a different country, so he decided to take that offer and come here with a non-immigrant work visa. It obviously took him a long time to settle in and fully adjust to the community. He actually came to America with less than $50 in his pocket and didn't know anybody here, as he didn't have any family or friends who came here. Even simple things such as finding Indian food, ingredients, and driving on the opposite side of the road took him a while to adjust to. Luckily, he knew English, and it was a bit easier for him to communicate with people. He'd actually intended to only live here for around a year, but as he interacted with people and learned about their culture and thoughts, he started to appreciate the lifestyle here and decided to stay longer. A few years later, my dad married my mom, and she joined him here in Grand Blanc, Michigan, on a dependent visa. It was easier for her to adjust here because my dad had already lived here, but she had to completely redo her college education as her degree from India did not allow her to get a job here. And later on, as they both started to continue working, they applied for a green card through my dad's company, which was a long and ardent process that took around 4 years. During this time, my dad could not change jobs due to visa restrictions. His company actually lost their contract in Grand Blanc and moved my parents to Grand Rapids for 3 months. Grand Rapids was harder for them to adjust to because at that time, it was less diverse than the eastern side of Michigan. Even though Grand Rapids was conservative, my parents could see that it was a great place to raise their family. They have been living now in Grand Rapids for around 20 years, and my sister and I were actually born here. We've all made friends in this community who are more like family now. Grand Rapids has become more diverse over the years, and my parents have always said that they feel more welcome here than they did initially. This is a healthy change that I hope will continue not only in Grand Rapids, but throughout America. Thank you.
Carmen Vin in 9th grade from C.A. Frost.
Good morning. I am actually very nervous, but I know that everything that all these people have to say is very important, so I believe that we should say it. Okay, the United States is a country that many people dream of coming to. I was fortunate enough to have the opportunity of growing up in this country. Growing up, I knew that I was very lucky and that people risked their lives to get here to build a better life for their family. These people are called immigrants. Because becoming a U.S. citizen is not an easy process, many people have chosen to come to this country illegally. Some people, including our current president, are completely against people entering this country without authorization. But what President Trump seems to be forgetting is that his family did not originate in the United States. If you look through their ancestry, it is stated that both his mother and father's sides of the family originated in Europe, Scotland, and Germany. The definition immigrant is a person who comes to live permanently in a foreign country. This definition implies that everyone whose roots are not Native American blood are immigrants to this country. Immigrants come to the United States for a number of reasons that include anything from leaving their home country at their own will to being forced to leave despite their wishes. In the past, and even now, many people are leaving their home countries to escape from the danger and uncertainty that is presented to them. People, including President Trump, are opposed to immigrants entering our country because they believe that more people will put a strain on security and resources. When people think this way, they put up walls that make it difficult for immigrants when they come to the U.S. These walls enforce the idea that they are not accepted and welcomed. There are other people on the opposite side of the spectrum. Many people I know are very welcoming to immigrants, and they embrace them into the community, as well as promote diversity and inclusion among different groups of people. Although I have no personal experience, and I can't even begin to imagine what it's like, I'm sure leaving one's homeland is a very difficult decision. So coming to a welcoming community probably makes it a whole lot easier in the transition. I want to see Grand Rapids as a home, not only for me, but for everyone else. There should be no discrimination. We should have open arms because at one point, most of our families were immigrants. Immigrants face many difficult things in life, although they are not the only ones that face barriers each and every day. Refugees are immigrants who have fled their country because of dangerous circumstances. I can imagine that the majority of people who are refugees come to this country with little to no knowledge of our language and lifestyle. Many people who come to this country are seeking support, safety, and a better life. Barriers are put into place to prevent people from entering this country. Many people experience things that I could not even imagine, and many of us have it really easy. Why can't we open our arms to others who need it? As a growing generation, we should build a community and support system for others. We need to tear down all the walls that are being presented to us. We are all human, yet we can be irrational and unaccepting. If even a small portion of the people who are building the barriers were to switch places with the immigrants that are seeking a better life, and the opinions of people would change drastically. Discrimination is a huge problem that many people experience every day. Thank you.
Pierson Sanchez in 12th grade from Grand Rapids Montessori School.
Okay, I'm very nervous. All right, so deportation and this entire situation is something that a lot of people talk about without getting to hear the stories of people or the families of the people who are going through this immigration process and whatnot. And so I'm just going to share a little bit about my story and about my family. So back in August 2017, this is the month that I felt that I lost my world, because on Sunday afternoon, I was coming back from a game of soccer with a couple of friends of mine at a park and whatnot. And as I drew closer to home, I saw many black cars with many tinted windows surrounding my house. So I ran up to my house and I was trying to get inside, and there was an officer he wore no uniform. He was an ICE agent, and he loudly and clearly stood up right in front of me and not to touch me or to push me back, but asked me who I was or why was I trying to enter the property. I told him, well, I lived here. So he said, oh, okay, you're fine. So I was going to walk up the stairs, go into my house, and because it is a duplex, my aunt was downstairs, and she had called me first, and she said, like, hey, did you get to see your mother before we met, or before she left? And immediately I knew something was wrong. That morning was the last time that I hugged my mom. She was taken from me and my family. This had left my father without a wife, my twin brothers who recently just turned 9, my sister who's 13, and I who am 17, without a mother. Our daily life has drastically changed. She earlier that day told me to be safe as I went to the park. Little did I know that she was the one who needed to be safe. I was beyond angry when I reached my bedroom, to the point where I punched the wall and I made holes because it was frustrating to leave in the morning, come back in the afternoon, and not see your mom again. I asked ourselves, why did this happen to us? And I couldn't understand why at the moment, because I was just so angry. The truth is, I knew why she was gone, and my mother entered this country unlawfully. Therefore, by definition, she was a criminal, and that is why she was taken. Ever since my mom was taken, I've had to step up and take more responsibility than I previously had. I am the oldest of my siblings, and so, as any other older sibling would already know, you have to take care of the younger siblings. Every morning when I get up to school, I don't always have to worry just about myself. I have to worry about my younger sister and make sure that my brothers have at least some type of like breakfast already set up for them, or have their uniforms ready for them to go to school. I wash everyone's clothes basically because I'm mainly at home. Every day after getting home, I prepare meals for my siblings because I'm usually the one who gets there from school early. I don't want them to experience what I did, or I don't want them to experience what I do, an empty home that was once filled with joy and amazing smell of homemade food that my mother once prepared. My father works day in and day out, usually from about 7 to 8 in the afternoon, so I don't get to see my father as much as I would like to. He's a lonely husband left alone to take care of us. Though do I do most of the cleaning and cooking, my father does tend... I'm shaking so much, I'm sorry.
You're doing great.
Though I do most of the cleaning and cooking, my father does help with what he can, and so that I can take care of chores faster, and that I may have some time to do my homework, whether that be at the middle of the night or 1 o'clock in the morning. He encourages me to spend time studying and focus more on my studies. My brother asked one night where Mom has gone and when she's coming back, and it killed me to tell them the truth. The conversation that I had with my brother, it was just overwhelming. It overflowed us with pain and sorrow. I was laying in bed, just on my phone, just resting for a bit, and one of the twins crawled up to alongside me. I asked him what's up, and he just responded with, "I just miss Mommy. I don't understand why she has to leave us." Hermano, brother, I tell him, America, as people tell you, is a great country, but usually to only those who benefit from it. Most of the time it isn't fair for people like us. So he says, but I thought the government is supposed to take care of us and help us. I told him, yeah, that's true. They're supposed to, but they don't always do that. Not towards everybody, or towards everybody. He started to tear up and quietly cry. I tried my hardest not to cry in front of him. As I put my arm around him, I tried to comfort him, and I told him, stay strong, hermano. You have your brother, me, and your sister, and your father. Okay? He quietly said, okay. I still cried thinking about her absence. This is the unfortunate reality of what deportation does. Many think it's the best thing in the world to, or as a solution, to keep every bad person out of America. And while it does help in some means to keep America safe, this also means that the innocent, hardworking mothers and fathers are targeted as well, for no reason other than because they're not legal citizens. It leaves children without love of their parents. Every day is a new day to make the best of what we have. They won't have the childhood that my sister and I were able to have, or to experience the love of our mother with us as much as they will. I am thankful for the time and the memories that I have had with my mother before she had left, and I try to keep my brothers happy to remind them to focus on their education and to have a good day at school every single day. I always ask them how their day was and what they learned in school, to try and not to think about so much about sad memories. I love them and I will do anything for them until that they can take care of themselves, and even then I'll always be available to help them. The same applies to my sister as she continues to learn life's lessons with or without my help or without the help of my mother. When I get a chance to speak to my mom, she reminds me that everything is okay. She tells me, Dios está con nosotros y Él los cuidará y nunca los dejará. God is with us, He will take care of us, and He will never leave us. I pray that one day our family may be reunited. Courage is in our family. We hate to move on, but we have to, because we have courage, we are strong, we face our problems and make the best of the cards that we are dealt. Thank you.
Next testimony is by Riley Wilson and will be read by Fatima Abadi.
The issue of immigration is fraught with dehumanization of those who come from other countries. This dehumanization exists even those who support increased immigration. For example, listing off the economic benefits of immigration is, while good-intentioned, far from what makes immigration so important. Immigration's value is not their ability to work a low-paying, often exploitative job. As a result of immigrants being reduced to just numbers, they are given no care, hope, or recourse when deportation officials come to their door. It is vital to those of us who are not immigrants to fight with them as humans, and not only fight against the systems of deportation that rips families apart, but also fights the institutionalized exploitation of those who have little legal representation. If we allow ourselves to turn a blind eye to the injustices that occur while immigrants are in America, we're little better than Trump, ICE, or any other morally compromised organizations and people who don't want to allow immigrants into the country in the first place. Thank you.
Yemi Reyes in 9th grade from University Prep Academy.
Good morning. As we move more into 2018, we see that 2018 is bringing us. We see that we have walls blocking us from accepting each other. I feel like there is more discrimination than acceptance, but there are ways that we could change that and not have those walls blocking us from accepting others. Yes, we have a president and a government that have their own mindset. Yes, they believe building a barrier like it's a good thing, but it's not a good thing. We have to accept people because of who they are. We can do this by introducing other people to friends that we know and try to get to know each other. Becoming friends doesn't cost anything. There is 11.3 million people here in the United States trying to live the American dream. And out of 11.3, only 800,000 have received DACA protection over the 5 years. And that action that the federal government should take regarding to that population is to leave them alone. Let them live their dream. They can't just take away their dream that they worked so hard to get while crossing the border, and for some people not to survive, as the federal government to just snatch it from them hurts. A research that Roberto Gonzalez did back in September 11, 2017 shows that he found 22% have earned bachelor's degree as DACA dreamers. As a proud Latina, all we do is try to make our parents proud. From them to tell their friends that their kids are something important in life. Let's talk about the effect of deportation. I personally have experienced a person who's really close to me get deported. I don't like that. Thank you.
I don't like telling people about my personal life, but I got nothing to lose, so here we go. On February of 2017, someone had to leave, and it hurt because that person meant something really important to me. Yes, I said my last goodbyes, but I wasn't ready for them to leave. Then the day came, and it felt like a person taking your heart out of your chest. It hurted more than a breakup. All the pain led into depression. I wasn't eating. I wouldn't even go out my room for weeks. The pain is something I hope no one has to go through because it hurts. Trust me when I say that. But at the end of those rainy days, there's always that shiny sun. Just remember that you can always go to your family and speak about it. You don't have to go through it alone. You are strong.
Jakari Richardson.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Jakari Richardson. I'm a freshman at Grand Rapids Prep, and I'm on the behalf of the Grand Rapids Urban League. And excuse me, I'm real nervous right now, and I only got notified of this opportunity Wednesday, so I'm unprepared. But I'm just gonna use my intelligence, my mental, and my voice just to inspire. So I got nothing to lose, right? But my question today is, why do we encourage people? Why do we give these people ideas that America is the land of the free, justice and freedom for all, but when they come here, they're denied, they're not accepted, and we judge them. And we have a president that thinks it's okay. Don't nobody talks about the way he talked. He repeats himself, repeated smart missiles. We really have smart missiles. Just repeats himself, and it's not right. We stereotype these immigrants, and they really come over here and they contribute to America. Without immigrants, there would be no America. But honestly, 9/11 was an event where immigrants were. It was the marking point where immigrants could no longer be accepted and all that due to my understanding. And my thing is, 9/11 wasn't even their fault. It was all part of the government. If you look at the conspiracies, the truth behind it, it was not immigrants' fault. I'm so nervous right now. Just, whew. It's hard to go to school. And most of my closest friends are immigrants. It's hard to sit by them and hear them get joked about, judged, or hear a stereotype why you cross the border, Donald Trump gonna send you back if you don't have those papers. That's not right. They came over here and changed their lives. I love Mexican food, the authentic Mexican food. Y'all know y'all do, and Chinese food, all that. And they're not accepted here, and that's a shame. What are we gonna do about it? Immigrants been impacting America ever since. People that never even came to America has impacted us. Toussaint Louverture, the leader of the Haiti rebellion, slave rebellion. If he didn't keep fighting the French, America would have never expanded. We would have just been in one part. And Christopher Columbus, the founder of America, he came over here, right? That's all I have to say.
Adriana Rios.
Good morning. My name is Adriana Rios. I'm 8th grade and I attend Grand Rapids Public Museum School. I'm here today to discuss this year's topic, immigration. Immigrants are the roots of our country. They're what made and continues to make our country great. Immigration isn't a choice, it's something that is forced. Some people may feel the statement is arguable, but the fact that people migrate to the U.S. for a better opportunity isn't. We can say that this country belongs to us, but on the same note, your family was also once an immigrant. The only true natives to this country are the Native Americans. A couple questions I have for you today is, what makes a non-immigrant's child's dream any more American than a child of an immigrant? What makes anyone's dream any more important than an immigrant's dream? I feel that there shouldn't be a difference, but that isn't the case in our society today. I believe everyone has a right to chase their dream, and every dream is valid. So why are we limiting a person's future? How do we expect our country to progress and innovate if we're limiting each other's power? Politicians should start representing we the people, but not all you hear is them going against us. They're making policies to further discriminate against immigrants. It's time we change how we treat each other, whether that's working towards finding an ideal pathway to citizenship or just simply ending non-criminal deportations. Deportation is violence towards the innocent. This is destroying and ripping tons of families apart. There is no one simple answer, but we can take one step at a time. Take a look around you and recognize your privilege. Think of what immigrants are going through today. Together we can make a positive change. It's 2018. We should be advocating for the use of fresh water, not for basic human rights. Thank you.
Mia Farr.
Hi, I'm Mia Farr. I'm 17 from West Michigan Aviation Academy. America, we pride ourselves on freedom, yet we build walls to keep anyone who we fear out. We build these walls as a way to control people different from us. Us saying immigrants are illegal is to say another human is less than us. To be against immigration is just another way to mask prejudice. America is freedom, yet it's only to those who have the means to buy it. We are repeating history. Why is it that a human life has to work harder to get the same thing as anyone else? Why is it that we have to work harder to get less money to buy our freedom? This sounds all too familiar, right? Well, when America was first starting and the slaves, they had to buy their own freedom, but they got less wages for their work. Only to, once again, be here again. So, in America, we need to forget that we, as humans, are different. We're all the same. To say one human is more deserving and better than someone else is modern-day slavery. Thank you.
Can we get another round of applause for all of our speakers? At this time, we would like for the listening panel and the students in the audience to begin filling out the survey they were given. This survey will help us in evaluating this year's event to ensure that we've met our outcomes and can improve upon next year's event. If you need something to write with, we have members of the Mayor's Youth Council circulating pens and pencils. Please complete your survey before exiting the chambers. Members of the Mayor's Youth Council will collect them at the door. I also want to speak directly to those in the room and those watching this on TV or online. If you are 15 to 24 years old, you live in the city of Grand Rapids, and you need meaningful employment, check out the LEAD program. If you go through this program, you can earn a job working for the city and other businesses in the community that participate in the Mayor's 100 campaign. You will not only learn about city government and how to write an effective cover letter and resume, but you will also take an acting class, a yoga class, and learn how to manage money, and so much more. This is an opportunity you can't pass up. So again, if you're looking for employment and you're 15 to 24 years old, check out LEAD. Applications and flyers are available in the hallway and online at ourcommunitieschildren.com. That's ourcommunitieschildren.com.
As you're filling out your surveys, we'd like to take another minute to acknowledge and thank our partners and sponsors. Our community's children, Michigan's children, the City of Grand Rapids, and the Grand Rapids Public Schools. Please give all of our sponsors a loud round of applause.
Now please welcome Ms. Shannon L. Harris, Program Coordinator for Our Community's Children, as she gives some closing remarks.
All right, thank you, Andrew and Chi-Chi. A round of applause for our MCs today. So I'm just going to be really brief. I know I'm between you guys filling out this survey and lunch. So really quickly, thank you so much, Mayor Bliss, for your ongoing support of this event and all of our events in our community's children. I also want to give shout outs to the T-shirt designer again, Anya. Where is Anya? Somewhere in the audience, right there. Also, a big shout out to Jovan. He is the owner of Bear All Clothing. He's the one that transferred her design onto your t-shirts. So shout outs to him. Our photographer, Denavia Moget, for her excellent photography skills. She's right there in the back. Also won an award last night, the West Michigan Woman Magazine Award. So congratulations to you on that. Another special shout out to our WMCAT students that were participating in their photography class this year. Their photos are in the hallway, so make sure that you check them out. Another shout out to Dennis Grants. I think he's still here in the back. Yes, their instructor. So thank you for being here and supporting young people in your class. Shayla Willis, Karina, who's our intern, and Devin, who's probably somewhere in the building. Thank you so much for your support. Really quick shout out to, again, the students. You guys were so awesome. Heartfelt testimonies. Thank you so much for your bravery. Thank you so much for taking the time out to write your testimony and recite your testimony today. We would like to get a quick photo of you before you leave this room. So the photographer, Denavia, will direct you right after we conclude. And then I'm going to toss it over to the mayor for some closing remarks before we give it back to our MCs.
All right. Well, I will just briefly add, because I know that we are running late this morning. I just want to add my incredible thanks. I know I speak for everyone up here on the listening panel, how unbelievably proud we are of all of the students who spoke up today. We know it takes a lot of courage to stand up here and to speak, and we thank you for that. Thank you for speaking up and speaking out. And I also know I speak for all of us up here to say that we have incredible hope in the future because of all of you. So thank you for that. Thank you again, everyone, for joining us today for this really powerful event. Thank you.
Don't forget to drop off your surveys on the way out.
The most important.
And after the photo, please join us for lunch downstairs on the Ottawa level. Take the elevator to level 1, and lunch is being catered by the Garibaldi restaurant.
If
Thank
you're
you
on
all
the
for
listening
coming.
panel, please stay seated. The children are taking a picture with you. So the children are going to come right up here, and we're getting a picture of the children with the listening panel. So don't go anywhere.
Ooh, I did wear a waterproof mascara today.
Yeah, right.